the Buddha. N. Kamma. Tien Kong Tran, Ph.D. Kamma, karma, is one of the essential concepts in Buddhism. Kamma is action, and not the result of the action. More clearly, kamma is an action that brings a result. Such an action will bring such a result. We often divide actions into two kinds, good action and bad action. On what ground can we know good action and bad action? On the ground of volition or mind, I declare, O Bhikkhus, it is volition that is kamma. Having willed, one acts by body, speech, and thought. Mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief, they are all mind-wrought. If with an impure mind a person speaks and acts, suffering follows him like the wheel that follows the foot of the ox. Mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief, they are all mind-wrought. If with a pure mind a person speaks and acts, happiness follows him like his never-departing shadow. We usually believe that a good action will bring a good result and a bad action will bring a bad result. In fact, people see that a good action can bring a bad result and a bad action can bring a good result. Telling a lie can bring a lot of profit, two-tongued can bring success, robbery without being caught is to have much money. However, people believe that in a long time, a good action will bring a good result and a bad action will bring a bad result. People like stories with good endings. In a long time can be counted in this life and specially in the next life. That is the judgment of people. Indeed, good or bad does not indicate a lot or little, but happy or suffering, good will bring happiness and bad suffering. According to traditional interpretation, kamma principally talks about the next life. Good kamma will lead to a good next life and bad kamma a bad next life. For human beings, according to Buddhism, a bad next life indicates a rebirth in the planes of human beings with a lower life, of asuras, of ghosts, of animals, ghosts, or of hell. A good next life indicates a rebirth in the planes of human beings with a higher life and of gods. When the Buddha talked about kamma, did he aim at the result in this life or in the next life? As we have said, because he made known suffering and the cessation here and now, he aimed principally at kamma in this life. But in his discourses, we read that the Buddha also talked about the past lives and the next one. Section 1. Kamma, happiness, and suffering. Many popular books on Buddhism use kamma to explain inequalities in this life. Looking into this life, we see uncountable inequalities. Some are rich and some are poor, some are handsome, beautiful, and some are ugly, some are strong and some are weak, some are sound and some are crippled, some are born in noble families and some are born as slaves. Some do not have to work for a living and some have to work hard, some have wives and children and some are single, some are long-lived and some are short-lived, some die peacefully and some die painfully, some are wise and some are stupid. Each person lives in his situation because of his kamma in his past lives. For example, a man is a president and has a beautiful young girlfriend. It is because in the past lives, he practiced good actions, not killing, not taking what was not given, not telling lies, not committing wrong loves, being generous in giving food to the hungry, helping the needy. When the student Brahmin Subha asked about social inequalities, the Buddha replied, "Student, beings are owners of their actions, heirs of their actions. They originate from their actions, are bound to their actions, have their actions as their refuge. It is action that distinguishes beings as inferior and superior." Then the Buddha took as example, "Here, student, some man or woman kills living beings and is murderous, bloody-handed, given to blows and violence, merciless to living beings. Because of performing and undertaking such action, on the dissolution of the body, after death, he reappears in a state of deprivation, in an unhappy destination, in perdition, even in hell. But if in the dissolution of the body, after death, he does not reappear in a state of deprivation, in an unhappy destination, in perdition, in hell, but instead comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn he is short-lived. But here, student, some man or woman, abandoning the killing of living beings, abstains from killing beings, with rod and weapon laid aside, gentle and kindly, he abides compassionate to all living beings. Because of performing and undertaking such action, on the dissolution of the body, after death, he reappears in a happy destination, in heavenly world. But if in the dissolution of the body, after death, he does not reappear in a happy destination, in heavenly world, but instead comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn he is long-lived. The Buddha also gave explanations about people who are sickly and healthy, ugly and beautiful, uninfluential and influential, poor and wealthy, low-born and high-born, stupid and wise. It seems that the Buddha went out of the problem of suffering and the cessation of suffering here and now, out of a single excellent night. Let not a person revive the past, or on the future build his hopes. For the past has been left behind, and the future has not been reached. Instead with insight let him see each presently arisen state. Let him know that and be sure of it. Invincibly, unshakably. Today the effort must be made. Tomorrow death may come, who knows? No bargain with mortality can keep him and his hordes away. But one who dwells thus ardently, relentlessly, by day, by night. It is he, the peaceful sage has said, who has had a single excellent night. When talking about Dhamma, the Buddha talked with a Brahmin student. It was almost certain that this student had a belief in Dhamma and rebirth. That also was the belief of the Indians at that time. Moreover, belief or dream that to live an honest life and to get a good next life resides in the hearts of most people, if not in the heart of each person. The Buddha saw that such a faith is good for the holy life. Therefore, he talked about Kamma in accordance with that faith. And it was possible that the Buddha himself had such a faith. The Buddha taught happiness in this life, and at the same time satisfied people's hope in the next life. When he was enlightened, the Buddha talked about the knowledge of recollecting past lives. Attaining enlightenment, a person recollects his numerous past lives, that is 1 birth, 2 births, 3, 4, or 5 births, 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50 births, 100 births, 1,000 births, 100,000 births. There I had such a name, belonged to such a clan, had such an appearance, such was my food, such my experience of pleasure and pain, such my span of life. Passing away from that state, I re-arose there. There too I had such a name, belonged to such a clan, had such an appearance, such was my food, such my experience of pleasure and pain, such my span of life. Passing away from that state I re-arose here. He also sees these beings, who were endowed with bad conduct of body, speech, and mind, who reviled the noble ones, held wrong views, with the breaking up of the body, after death, have reappeared in the plane of misery, the bad destination, the lower realms, in hell. At the time when people believed in the recurrent round, for his Dhamma to be followed, the Buddha talked about past lives. If an enlightened person sees past lives, following the Dhamma to take care of the next life is real attraction. However, according to ordinary understanding of Dhamma, a person who suffers a lot right now, he had to be a crook, killer, or robber. If it is so, is he worthy of pity? But do we know our past? The answer: we do not know our past. In the shorter discourse on the mass of suffering, the Buddha told his dialogue with the Nigahas, I told them, but, friends, do you know that you existed in the past, and that it is not the case that you did not exist? No, friend. But, friends, do you know that you did evil actions in the past and did not abstain from them? No, friend. But, friends, do you know that you did such and such evil actions? No, friend. But, friends, do you know that so much suffering has already been exhausted, or that so much suffering has still to be exhausted, or that when so much suffering has been exhausted all suffering will have been exhausted? No, friend. We do not know our past lives. But we know these 2 points. 1. Right here and now we can change our life to become less suffering or free from suffering. 2. If we believe in the next life, it is also right here and now that we can change our next life to become less suffering or free from suffering. So, it is the present that is the point of starting. Therefore, the Buddha said, good, good, Anuradha. Formerly, Anuradha, and also now, I make known just suffering and the cessation of suffering. And it is just suffering and the cessation of suffering here and now. Section 2. Kamma, Fate, and Freedom. Using kamma in the past lives to explain inequalities in the present life meets the following danger: it can lead to determinism or fate, destiny. If present life is the result of past lives, it seems that everything is already determined. If in his past lives a person told lies, killed beings, took what was not given, committed sexual misconduct, how can he escape a painful present life? Fate is so, destiny is so, what can he do now? Thus, only one interpretation is left: the past does not determine all the present. So, there is determinism, but not total determinism. In other words, we can change fate, men can change heaven's will. That is freedom of human beings. Men are not controlled by fate. Men can make decisions for their lives. However, such an interpretation always appears compelling. We would rather say that we do not know how last lives influence present life. But we know that right here and now we can think, say, and act in this way or in that way, in accordance with our choice. Simply, we ourselves determine our lives. Indeed, men stand in front of numerous ways. Tonight, I can go to a movie, to a concert, stay home to watch television and to read a book, visit a friend, share the Dhamma, seek to take what is not given. Indeed, men have freedom. In the perspective of morality, the sages point to 2 main ways. Confucius and Mencius said that there are only 2 ways, human and non-human. Jesus said men cannot serve 2 masters, God and money. The Buddha also divided actions into 2 kinds, wholesome and unwholesome. Unwholesome action is action done under the direction of this shore, and wholesome action is action done under the direction of the other shore. Unwholesome action leads to suffering and immersion in the round of births and deaths, and wholesome action leads to happiness, the unborn and deathless, Nibbana. Section 3. The result of kamma. Because, according to ordinary interpretation, kamma is action that causes rebirth, rebirth whether in a better life or in a worse life. it is considered as action of an unenlightened person. An enlightened one like the Buddha has no more kama, because he has entered nibbana and has no more renewal of existence. Action of an enlightened person does not belong to kama. Such an interpretation seems flippant and vague. Kama is action with consequence. Action under the direction of this shore results in life on this shore, and action under the direction of the other shore results in life on the other shore. The way, morality, has numerous levels. Common men and women, however ignorant, may intermeddle with the knowledge of it and can carry a part of it into practice. A follower of the Dhamma who has not attained to the perfection of the Buddha is on the other shore but on a lower level than the Buddha's one. Then he will return to this shore because his action is sometimes under the direction of this shore, sometimes under the direction of the other shore. The Buddha was the same when the Buddha had not yet attained the supreme perfect enlightenment. Until he had attained the supreme perfect enlightenment, he did not return to this shore anymore. The Buddha's kama was different from an ordinary person's one at that point. Section 4. Kama and 31 Planes of Existence. With the interpretation of rebirth as rebirth after death, they created 31 planes, spheres, realms, of existence into one of which a being will be reborn, in accordance with his kama. Buddhist cosmology is divided into three main realms: sense realm, fine material realm and formless realm. Each realm is divided into planes, with the total of 31 planes. The sense realm is so called because the driving force within this realm is sensual desire. It is composed of 12 planes, good destinations and bad destinations. The bad destinations contain 4 planes: the hell plane, extreme torment, the animal plane, the plane of ghosts, hunger and thirst, and the plane of asuras, all-day-long fight. The good destinations are composed of the human plane and 6 heavenly planes with a kind of devas in each heavenly plane. The sense realm is so called because even devas here enjoy pleasures of sense, though they have physical forms that are more subtle and defined than those of human beings and are imperceptible to the naked eye. In the sense realm there is material. The fine material realm is where gross form, matter, has vanished and only the subtler kinds of form remain, where the bliss, power, luminosity, and vitality of its denizens are far superior to those in the sense realm. The devas who are higher than those of the 6 heavenly planes dwell in the fine material realm. There are planes in which no devas are said to dwell, and which are reserved to non-returners. This realm contains 16 planes. The 4 absorptions, yahanas, lead to this realm. The formless, immaterial, realm is the realm where matter has become non-existent and only mental processes exist. This realm contains 4 planes. No devas are said to dwell there. The 4 attainments lead to this realm. Nibbana surpasses all those 31 planes. Whoever does not attain to Nibbana yet will be reborn, depending on his kama, in one of the 31 planes. To pay for one's sins or to enjoy blessings depends on one's kama. The time to pay for one's sins or to enjoy blessings can be long. For example, a life in the highest place can last millions of years and a life in hell can be unlimited. After having paid for one's sins or enjoyed blessings, a new kama ripens and a new rebirth must take place in one of those 31 planes. Only when one has entered Nibbana, one will not be reborn. And in Nibbana bliss is even higher than bliss in the highest plane. Nibbana is truly supreme bliss, and this supreme bliss is eternal. The Buddha entered there, and whoever rightly follows his teachings will, after death, enter there. This is the place of the supreme bliss, and it is not a place of the old, while my friends are playing in hell. Thus even to sacrifice this life, to abandon all pleasures of this life in order to enter the sphere of the eternal supreme bliss, it is a task worth to be done. To deny such a sphere is only from ignorance. Is that true? You must believe. You must have faith. The Buddha had attained Nibbana in many previous lives, then it was because of compassion for the living beings that he came down from Nibbana to teach the Dhamma. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe. But how can people believe? There are too many monks who are greedy and like the forbidden thing. However, the Buddha did not tell us to believe. The Buddha said to the Kalamas, "It is fitting for you to be perplexed, O Kalamas, it is fitting for you to be in doubt. Doubt has arisen in you about a perplexing matter. Come, Kalamas. Do not go by oral tradition, by lineage of teaching, by hearsay, by a collection of scriptures, by logical reasoning, by inferential reasoning, by reflection on reasons, by acceptance of view after pondering it, by the seeming competence of a speaker, or because you think, the ascetic is our teacher. But when you know for yourselves, these things are unwholesome, these things are blamable, these things are censured by the wise, these things, if undertaken and practiced, lead to harm and suffering, then you should abandon them. But when you know for yourselves, these things are wholesome, these things are blameless, these things are praised by the wise, these things, if undertaken and practiced, lead to welfare and happiness, then you should engage in them." Having said thus to the Kalamas, the Buddha gave them examples. Was greed, with its results as killing, taking what is not given, sexual misconduct, telling lies, an unwholesome thing? The Kalamas agreed that it led to harm and suffering. Is non-greed, with its results as not killing, not taking what is not given, no sexual misconduct, not telling lies, a wholesome thing? The Kalamas agreed that it led to welfare and happiness. So, can we experience the 31 planes of existence and Nibbana understood as they are mentioned above? Whoever experiences them, let him follow the teaching about them. Whoever does not experience them, let him reconsider if the teaching about them is right. According to the Buddha's teaching, we follow only when we know for ourselves. As human beings, we know only things in this life. And the Buddha said that he taught merely suffering and the cessation of suffering here and now. The Buddha used existence, being, to denote existence in the realm of sensual desire, the fine material realm and the immaterial realm. There is no existence in Nibbana. In Nibbana the leash to existence has been cut off. The way is in the heart of everyone. Man is an animal that relates to two realities at the same time, this shore or material and the other shore or the way, Nibbana. In other words, at some moment he is on this shore, and then he goes to the other shore, and then he is reborn to this shore. This shore contains the sense realm as well as the fine material realm and the immaterial realm. So, when the Buddha talked about rebirth into the 31 planes, it is a mental rebirth. Mental rebirth can take place in this life and, if there is the next life, in the next life, rebirth does not take place only in the next life. The important point is rebirth in this life. Suffering is already in this life and equanimity is already in this life, including suffering in hell and equanimity in Nibbana. If the four absorptions, yahanas, lead to the fine material sphere, why do they not lead to it in this life? Why do they have to wait until the next life to do so? If the four attainments lead to the immaterial sphere, why do they not lead to it in this life? Why do they have to wait until the next life to do so? The heavenly planes are images of different levels of the way. The Indians themselves created devas, and these devas are images of the way. People can imagine the way as the good God. The 31 planes of existence are imaginations that men use in their effort to describe the vague and mysterious sphere of the way. Therefore, we should not question about the reality or non-reality of those planes. We cannot deny that in numerous discourses of the basket of discourses rebirth is understood as rebirth after death. Let us read the following passage in the Greater Discourse on the Lion's Roar. Sariputta, there are these 5 destinations. What are the 5? Hell, the animal realm, the realm of ghosts, human beings, and gods. I understand hell, and the path and way leading to hell. And I also understand how one who has entered this path will, on the dissolution of the body, after death, reappear in a state of deprivation, in an unhappy destination, in perdition, in hell. I understand the animal realm, and the path and way leading to the animal realm. And I also understand how one who has entered this path will, on the dissolution of the body, after death, reappear in the animal realm. I understand the realm of ghosts, and the path and way leading to the realm of ghosts. And I also understand how one who has entered this path will, on the dissolution of the body, after death, reappear in the realm of ghosts. I understand human beings, and the path and way leading to the human world. And I also understand how one who has entered this path will, on the dissolution of the body, after death, reappear in among human beings. I understand the gods, and the path and way leading to the world of gods. And I also understand how one who has entered this path will, on the dissolution of the body, after death, reappear in a happy destination, in the heavenly world. I understand Nibbana, and the path and way leading to Nibbana. And I also understand how one who has entered this path will, by realizing for himself with direct knowledge, here and now enter upon and abide in the deliverance of mind and deliverance by wisdom that are taintless with the destruction of the taints. In the above passage, rebirth in the planes of existence is said to happen after death. But Nibbana is here and now. Nibbana is the deliverance of mind and deliverance by wisdom that are taintless with the destruction of the taints. But even the dissolution of the body and after death can be understood as abandoning this shore, and not necessarily as after death in its ordinary meaning. The Buddha's words about the Dhamma are hard to understand. It is possible that his disciples who narrated his discourses did not fully understand him. If we live following or not following the Buddha's words, we can experience equanimity or suffering. If we experience that his words are right, is there any reason for us not to follow him?